A very good afternoon, everyone. And before I start my presentation, I have this slide up here for a purpose. How many of you, by show of hands, have ever known or heard of Blockbuster video store that used to operate in US? Okay, so I can see some hands going up. How about Netflix? How many of you have heard, used Netflix? Okay, I still see some hands down, but then that's all right. Now, the reason I showed you both these slides is there's a slight story that is attached to both of them. And the story goes that back in 2000, Blockbuster was this thriving video store in the US, and Netflix was actually after Blockbuster to buy them, and they even went ahead and told them that we are ready to sell Netflix at $50 million. Obviously, Blockbuster kept denying it, and in 2010, Blockbuster actually filed for bankruptcy. Last year, Netflix was valued at $150 billion. Now, the interesting story here is not that Blockbuster lost out on buying Netflix, but why Netflix actually grew bigger, better, and stronger than its competitor, which was Blockbuster. Netflix started off using its data very, very crucially and critically. Netflix today is what it is primarily because the one place that they've invested the most is actually understanding their customers' preferences when they actually go on their website. So Netflix actually analyzes all the data points that gets collected on what gets watched by what user, and then they use that to provide their users with curated content. Now, this is important because Netflix identified the use of data and they use it to their advantage, and they actually outlived their competition. This is what we have come here to talk to you about. My name is Prashant, and I'm part of the custom consulting team in Tableau. During my presentation today, I will cover certain aspects of what it takes for an organization to become a data-driven organization and how we actually play a role in ensuring that you not only become data-driven, but also inculcate a culture of having your employees become citizen data scientists. Now, before we get into that, what gets into the way, right? So what are the limitations that we have seen because we work with different customers across different sizes? What is it that gets in the way for a customer to actually not achieve what Netflix did in a very, very small amount in time? Now, these are some of the trends that we've seen, and there are three critical limitations that have come up every now and then whenever we've met with our customers who've been successful. Now, the first limitation is that the analysis of data is limited to few in the organization. So you'll typically have your IT teams, people who are coders, people who are good with technology that would be using data to give you reports, give you dashboards, and stuff like that. What it also does is it gives access to maybe analysts in the business intelligence team, the advanced analytics teams, and stuff like that. So people who know how to use certain platforms in the analytics environment who can then give you insights that you require on a daily basis. Now, even if you have some of these people analyzing this data, some people do not get access to all the data. So the data access that has been provided to the users is also limited. Now, these could be because of various factors. It could be the governance models that is set up. It could be because of multiple databases or data sources that an organization uses, and so on and so forth. Another limitation that we've seen is even if you have the best of platforms in your organization, what does not happen is a culture that helps people use that technology. So there's very limited support either within the organization or by the OEM that helps you to start using these platforms to actually have analysis done on the fly with the power of you knowing what to do next when it comes to taking a decision in your business. Now, how do you become a data-driven organization, right? And this is where, again, because we work with customers across the globe, in India, big, small, NBFCs, big banking houses, there are certain things that we have understood by working with these customers, and these are some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about in detail next. One of the most important things that Tableau has always done, and this was something that Mr. Mehta had also spoken about, is that technology should be built that an end user could use. It could be your end customer, or it could be an end user in the organization itself. Tableau's philosophy since it started has always been, we will build platforms that our end user or anybody in the organization could use. So our focus has always been on people. Now, because we had that focus, what we ended up achieving is making a platform that people love to use. It's because it's easy to use, it's intuitive, and we'll talk about those things, and I'll even show you the product once we get into a little bit of detail. The other important aspect is that you need to scale. Banking today has scaled. It's gone from a normal branch banking to actually doing cross-sell and upsells across all financial services and products that you have. So it's extremely important that technology also scales and integrates with all those other aspects that could not only be in your organization, but also in your environment. And what definitely helps Tableau is being a trusted leader. We've been in existence for about 20 odd years. We have our Tableau conferences that are attended by users like this in the room. And we've always seen people come back to Tableau and help other Tableau users as well, right? So these are some of the things that we've seen people with successful implementations of Tableau. Now let's just get into details of some of these. The first one is that people will use a product if they like and love using it. If I don't love the technology that I'm using it, if I find it clunky, if I find it very difficult to use, I will most likely stay away from it. So keeping that in mind, what we've done is, like I said, we've built a platform which is simple to use, drag and drop interface, and now we have started to bring in a lot of other factors which help you also understand what more can you get out of your data. Now, we had our Tableau conference in 2018 where Mr. Bhavin Lakpatwala, who was an SVP Finance in HDFC Bank, actually gave a 1-hour talk on what HDFC Bank did with its implementation of Tableau. And what he pointed out was in 2015, when HDFC Bank started their journey on Tableau, the question that he would be asked most often when he would take Tableau to other users in the team was, why Tableau? Why disturb the norm? Why change from what we are doing because we do it perfectly even now? And that changed in 2018 where people now talk about why not Tableau whenever anything comes about data. So this transformation that took about 3 years helped HDFC Bank to actually understand where Tableau can add value and how business users can actually use it more to use and derive that information. Now, how does Tableau do that? Tableau actually builds a platform where you can actually analyze all kinds of data. Big, small, medium, whatever it is, right? So we actually can go from a cold tier, which could be CSV files, files, or data lakes that are dumped somewhere, and actually can go to highly aggregated data that could be residing in Tableau itself, right? So you can actually work with data across. Tableau allows you to connect to 100 odd data sources. So we have literally covered all the databases or data sources that are out there. Like I said, it's simple drag and drop interface. But what Tableau lets you do more than just dragging and dropping is actually explore your data even more. So we are not talking about simple dashboards or visualizations or reports, but taking it a level up against. And what I'm going to do is quickly show you how you can actually do that in Tableau. Now, what I'm going to open is what we call a dashboard. And this is typically what we term as the known elements. So these are KPIs that you would typically track. These are KPIs that would come out to you on a daily basis, regular basis, monthly basis, or whatever it is. Now, these are highly interactive, right? So any business user could just go click on a particular data point, and the entire dashboard changes and shows you that data point for that particular state. In this case, I've selected Uttar Pradesh, so it just turns out to be what Uttar Pradesh is doing. Now, this is something that I'm not saying is exclusive to Tableau. A lot of BI vendors can actually do that. But what Tableau adds value is where do you go beyond this? Now, and that is where one of the features that Tableau has is called Ask Data. This is our NLP engine where a business user could just come here and type, if I want to understand what my book size is across months. So what Tableau does is it converts the free text into a query at the back end that you could then select, and Tableau gives you the trend of what your portfolio or your book size is for a particular time period. I could then move on to another sheet and ask Tableau, what are my, or who is my top customer? And when I'm typing this, what Tableau is doing at the back end is it's actually again churning a model at the back end and identifying who the topmost customer is. And what Tableau does is it actually highlights the top customer, in which case is P. Kumar. Now, because I'm working in a bank and I might have a particular segment that I want to look at, I can then further drill it down by saying, can I look at for salaried profile? So when I type this in, Tableau understands that salaried is actually a variable in the column called profile, and it lets me select that, and it then changes the visualization where it now gives me the top customer in salaried only. Now, where this is a simpler way for you to get to know what simple stats or distribution in your data is, you can actually take it to the next step, which is, I might be a branch manager or a home loans regional head, and I want to look at how my portfolio has been for a particular city, state, or whatever it is. Now, when I look at this data, I can actually see that there are certain concentrations of my mortgage business across different cities or towns in a particular state. Now, when I start zooming in, I can clearly see that there is one place where the concentration is a lot more. Now, when I click on that particular data point, what Tableau does is it gives me a trend of how many disbursements have happened for that particular city and how much was the price. Now, there are certain things that catches my attention where I start seeing certain anomalies. So what I want to do is I want to understand this spike. So when I click on that one data point, what Tableau does is, by using explained data, Tableau actually goes and runs certain models at the back end where it goes and checks different dimensions and measures, and it actually pops up saying that in this particular date, the reason you have spike is out of the population that you had some new building or a new possession that came up in that particular city. And that's the reason you see a spike in your disbursements. With that insight, what I want to next check is, why is there a spike with this data point? So I'll use explain data again. Now, as soon as I use explain data here, what Tableau tells me is that there are two different things that are happening here because of which the spike could be a possibility. What catches my attention is that there is a single extreme value in this data point which is spiking this. So when I click on that single data point, Tableau actually tells me that there is one record which is so big that it's spiking your entire trend. Now, once I go and take that out, right, so Tableau actually creates another visualization at the bottom which says I have taken that data point out, and now I can actually go ahead and look at that data itself. And what Tableau does here is by itself creates another visualization where it's now taking out that extreme value. Now, with that extreme value gone, I still see a spike here. So where this was generated was from an explained data point. I can again use explained data on the explained data point to understand what's happening here. Now, as soon as I click on that, what comes up is a visualization which basically says that out of the population, you actually have commercial disbursements that have happened in this particular date. So which basically means that if I'm a retail customer, if I'm somebody managing a retail portfolio, I would want to take this out. And with this, what I can actually do is I can bring the type here, take the exclude or remove the commercial business, and when I press OK, I actually see a much more normalized curve. Now, what this ties back is to the presentation that I was showing where I spoke about how you just need to look at your data a little deeper and look at how this starts moving in the realm of exploring it a lot better. Now, from an exploration perspective, what also matters is how scalable the platform truly is. Like I said, today the banking product environment itself has scaled out from not just its products, but its ecosystem as well, be it insurance, mutual funds, markets, whatever it is. So there are different ways in which Tableau helps you to actually gain that. So we have Sriram, who actually shared with us how JP Morgan Chase today uses Tableau in a highly governed environment. So Tableau actually gave them a platform that they today use with those governances in place, but actually give power to their end users to work in a governed environment. Right? So it has to be a platform that lets you leverage your ecosystem while still maintaining the constraints that your ecosystem has. Now, from Tableau's perspective, Tableau can actually get deployed across different platform. So you could be on cloud, you could be on-premise, you could be on Windows, you could be on Linux, whatever it is. You could access this information on the go, so you have mobile apps that you could use. For example, HDFC Bank uses a lot of their content on the Tableau mobile app. You can actually embed this into your own application. You can build a customer-centric one view on spends and then have Tableau embedded there as well. So there are different ways in which you can actually work in the governed environment, and Tableau lets you leverage on that as well. Finally, one of the most important aspects, and this is where you rate us highest when we talk about customer usage and the benefits that they get with Tableau, and that is actually showcased by us being on the leaders quadrant of Gartner for 7 straight years. We have one of the biggest analytics communities out there, right? Which is actually managed by users itself. We have 500+ user groups. We have 4-5 different user groups across India of Tableau users, completely managed by Tableau users in different cities in India. We have 150,000 odd community members which help you with your queries, your doubts. If you get stuck somewhere, Tableau actually helps you do that. And then we have a platform which is called Tableau Public, which actually is a YouTube of visualizations. And like I said, 93% of our customers have actually liked our enablement programs and things like that. Finally, to wrap this up, while we understand what those limitations are, the challenge still is to bring in a culture of change. And to help with that, Tableau actually has a living document which is called Tableau Blueprint, which actually helps customers in their entire journey. You could be a beginner, you could be an advanced level of user, but Tableau actually lets you do that. And the reason we do that is because we know that if you want a data-driven culture in your organization, it is a working play that you'll have to continue to do, and it cannot end there. So with this, my presentation comes to an end. We are all around here. There are a bunch of Tableau guys who are here to answer your questions. So if you want to come talk to us about how Tableau can help in your organization, please do so. Thank you so much.